भीतर पड़ा हुआ जो नफरत का भाव था,
कुछ लोगों के भाषण के बाद पूरा इकोसिस्टम समर्थक उछल रहे थे और कुछ लोग तो खुश होकर के कह रहे थे ये हुई ना बात, शायद नींद भी अच्छी आई हो, शायद आज उठ भी नहीं पाए होंगे।
इस प्रकार की बातें टीवी के सामने कही गई तो भीतर पड़ा हुआ जो नफरत का भाव था, जो सच, वो बाहर आके ही रह गया।
निराशा में डूबे हुए कुछ लोग इस देश की प्रगति को स्वीकार ही नहीं कर पा रहे। उन्हें भारत के लोगों की उपलब्धियां नहीं दिखती है। अरे 140 करोड़ देशवासियों के पुरुषार्थ और प्रयास का परिणाम है, जिसके कारण आज दुनिया में डंका बजना शुरू हुआ। उन्हें भारत के लोगों के पुरुषार्थ और परिश्रम से प्राप्त उपलब्धियां उनको नजर नहीं आ रही है। आजादी के इतिहास में सबसे घोटालों का दशक रहा, सबसे घोटाला। वही 10 साल, यूपीए के वो 10 साल, कश्मीर से कन्याकुमारी, भारत के हर कोने में आतंकवादी हमलों का सिलसिला चलता रहा। 10 साल में जम्मू कश्मीर से लेकर नॉर्थ ईस्ट तक हिंसा ही हिंसा।
Hello everyone, you're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. Fireworks erupted in Parliament once again after Rahul Gandhi's direct attack against the Modi government over the Adani matter. In a speech that lasted over 1.5 hours, Prime Minister Narendra Modi tore into the opposition, accusing the parties of peddling politics of hatred and lies to derail the government's achievements. He blamed the opposition of compulsive criticism, accusing it of failing to digest India's growth story under the BJP, citing the decisive mandates from state to national elections. He added that targeting India's rise, insulting agencies and the forces has not helped the opposition even once in turning the tide against the BJP. And in fact, they should appreciate the Enforcement Directorate for politically uniting them. The Prime Minister once again highlighted the UPA government from 2004 to 2014, calling it the era of scams, terror attacks and India's global weakness. In an emphatic message to the opposition, the Prime Minister said he works for the Indian Parivar and the faith of 140 crore Indians in him will remain his Suraksha Kavach. Now, Rahul Gandhi missed the first half of the speech, and his absence was not lost on the Prime Minister, who in a veiled attack quipped that he may not have woken up on time. But the opposition continues to demand a joint parliamentary committee investigation into the charges levelled by the Hindenburg report against the Adani group. The parties continue to claim the Modi government pressurized LIC and SBI to invest, despite the clarifications that have come from both dismissing the charges, adding that their exposure to the stock is below 1%. Even after the finance minister and the RBI clarified that India's banking sector remains robust, the opposition continues to claim conspiracy. The war of words is far from over, as Rahul Gandhi's allegations have been struck from the parliamentary records, with the Congress now claiming that democracy has been cremated in Parliament. But with clarifications from all sides and with zero evidence of foul play, is the opposition guilty of peddling politics of conjecture? Moreover, has the Prime Minister's fiery response blunted the opposition's political offensive? First, let's listen in to the Prime Minister's counter to the opposition, and then I bring the panelists.
यहाँ पर सभी माननीय सदस्यों ने इस चर्चा में हिस्सा लिया। हर किसी ने अपने अपने आंकड़े दिए, अपने अपने तर्क दिए और अपनी रुचि
प्रवृत्ति प्रकृति के अनुसार सबने अपनी बातें रखी और जब इन बातों को गौर से सुनते हैं, उसे समझने का जब प्रयास करते हैं, तो ये भी ध्यान में आता है कि किसकी कितनी क्षमता है, किसकी कितनी योग्यता है, किसकी कितनी समझ है और किसका क्या इरादा है। ये सारी बातें प्रकट होती ही हैं और देश भली भांति तरीके से उसका मूल्यांकन भी करता है। मैं चर्चा में शामिल सभी माननीय सदस्यों का हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं, लेकिन मैं देख रहा था कल कुछ लोगों के भाषण के बाद पूरा इकोसिस्टम समर्थक उछल रहे थे और कुछ लोग तो खुश होकर के कह रहे थे, ये हुई ना बात, बड़ा, शायद नींद भी अच्छी आई होगी, शायद आज उठ भी नहीं पाए होंगे। इस प्रकार की बातें टीवी के सामने कही गई तो भीतर पड़ा हुआ जो नफरत का भाव था, जो सच, वो बाहर आके ही रह गया। जिस बात को हिंदुस्तान हर पल याद रखेगा कि 2014 के पहले का जो दशक था, द लॉस्ट डेकेड के रूप में जाना जाएगा। सिवाय आरोप, गाली गलौज, कुछ भी बोल दो, इसके सिवाय कुछ नहीं किया। अगर भ्रष्टाचार की जांच हो रही है तो जांच एजेंसियों को गाली दो। अगर सेना पराक्रम करे, सेना अपना शौर्य दिखाए और वो नैरेटिव देश के जन जन के अंदर एक नया विश्वास पैदा करे, तो सेना की आलोचना करो, सेना को गाली दो, सेना पर आरोप करो। लेकिन इन लोगों ने ईडी का धन्यवाद करना चाहिए कि ईडी के कारण ये लोग एक मंच पे आए हैं। अगर भ्रष्टाचार की जांच हो रही है तो जांच एजेंसियों को गाली दो। अगर सेना पराक्रम करे, सेना अपना शौर्य दिखाए और वो नैरेटिव देश के जन जन के अंदर एक नया विश्वास पैदा करे, तो सेना की आलोचना करो, सेना को गाली दो, सेना पर आरोप करो। कभी आर्थिक देश की प्रगति की खबरें आए, आर्थिक प्रगति की चर्चा हो, विश्व के सारे संस्थान भारत के आर्थिक गौरवगान करे, तो यहां से निकलो, आरबीआई को गाली दो, भारत के आर्थिक संस्थानों को गाली दो। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, पिछले 9 साल हमने देखा है कुछ लोगों की बैंक्रप्सी को देखा है कि कंस्ट्रक्टिव क्रिटिसिज्म की जगह कंपल्सिव क्रिटिक्स ने ले ली है और ये कंपल्सिव क्रिटिक्स इसी में डूबे हुए हैं, खोए हुए हैं। यहाँ कुछ लोगों को हार्वर्ड स्टडी का बड़ा क्रेज है। हार्वर्ड स्टडी है, बड़ा क्रेज है। कोरोना काल में ऐसा ही कहा गया था और कांग्रेस ने कहा था कि भारत की बर्बादी पर हार्वर्ड में केस स्टडी होगी, ऐसा कहा था। और कल फिर सदन में हार्वर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी में स्टडी की बात कल फिर हुई। बीते वर्षों में हार्वर्ड में एक बहुत बढ़िया स्टडी हुई है, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट स्टडी हुई है, और उस स्टडी है, उसका टॉपिक क्या था? स्टडी है द राइज एंड डिक्लाइन ऑफ इंडियाज कांग्रेस पार्टी। मुझे विश्वास है भविष्य में कांग्रेस की बर्बादी पर सिर्फ हार्वर्ड नहीं, बड़े बड़े विश्वविद्यालयों में अध्ययन होना ही होना है।
And now, first response coming in from Rahul Gandhi after that scathing attack against the Congress party and the opposition in that Prime Minister's speech. Let's listen in to what Rahul Gandhi said.
इंक्वायरी की बात नहीं हुई। अगर मित्र नहीं है तो ये कहते ठीक है मैं इंक्वायरी करा देता हूँ। इंक्वायरी की बात नहीं हुई। डिफेंस इंडस्ट्री है, वहां पे शेल कंपनीज हैं, बेनामी पैसा घूम रहा है, उसके बारे में प्रधानमंत्री ने कुछ नहीं कहा। तो मतलब क्लियर है कि प्रधानमंत्री उनकी रक्षा कर रहे हैं, उनको नेशनल सिक्योरिटी का मामला है, हिंदुस्तान के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का मामला है। प्रधानमंत्री को कह देना चाहिए ठीक है हम इंक्वायरी करेंगे, चेक कराएंगे क्या है इसमें। बहुत बड़ा घपला है, मगर वो भी नहीं बोला, तो जरूर वो उनको प्रोटेक्ट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। बट मैं समझता हूँ मतलब उसका कारण नहीं है।
Let me bring in my guests. Prajita Sarangi, Member of Parliament of the BJP. Jyoti Mani is the Member of Parliament of the Congress. Smita Prakash, Editor of ANI. Karan Verma, Author. Vijay Hansak is JMM MP. Smita Prakash, you heard from Rahul Gandhi. The Prime Minister did not respond to any of the direct charges. My question then to you is, by directly reaching out to the people, because he is talking about 140 crore Indians, has the Prime Minister blunted opposition attack over Adani issue?
Well, I think the opposition is certainly not happy. I mean, the Congress especially is certainly not happy with the Prime Minister's speech. Whether the people are not happy or happy, the only way to gauge people's unhappiness or not accepting a Prime Minister's or the ruling party's messaging narrative is through the electoral system. That's the only way to gauge it. It's not the media. It's not polls which are conducted in the media. None of this. It's the election results, the ballot. That is what decides whether the narrative of a ruling party is acceptable to the people or the narrative of the opposition is acceptable to the people. So that answers your question probably from my end about that. As far as the speech is concerned, he did not specifically say, okay, you ask this, I answer this. You ask this, I answer this. That's not his way of giving speeches, whether as Chief Minister of Gujarat or whether as Prime Minister. That's not how he did. He did not answer Rahul Gandhi point by point, because Rahul Gandhi's speech was all about Adani, and the Prime Minister didn't even bother to name or respond to any one allegation that he had done. Now, that's Modi's way of dealing with the opposition right from the early days. He specifically said, like you pointed out in your in the clips, that he said that it's not opposition for the sake of opposition or allegation for the sake of allegation. Where is it coming from? You know, this was Modi's speech that you saw was an assertive and a combative Prime Minister who wouldn't take allegations of corruption lying down. With a great deal of drama, he set aside everything with wit, with humor, with information. He didn't shy away from giving it as good as he got from either from Mr. Rahul Gandhi or from Adhir Ranjan. He spoke about this ecosystem. I think he was there was this whole thing about, you know, how the speeches of the opposition get amplified, and this constant harping on negativity, which he accused the Congress of. And he said very clearly that Indians by nature are optimistic. You know, they're optimistic and they don't like this constant negative harping. They take in negativity when somebody gives it, but from the leaders, they expect hope. They expect optimism. And that is the nature of Indians. And he said that he understood that because he has lived among common Indians. Obviously, a sharp dig at Rahul Gandhi without naming him. And he then put forward his report card of 8 years as compared to the report card of the dark phase or dark era or something like that he termed Dr. Manmohan Singh's tenure. I think by and large it was the 1+ hours that Mr. Modi spoke. It was classical Modi speech where he took on the opposition without naming anybody. But almost every part that he spoke about was answering their criticism without specifically saying anything.
Okay. Karun Verma, a quick word from you on Prime Minister's speech, and then I bring in the politicians. Do you think Prime Minister Modi has managed to bring the opposition on his pitch? The reason why I'm saying is because in the last one day that we heard from the opposition party is on the motion of thanks, it was all about the Adani controversy, while this was a discussion on the motion of thanks.
I think the Prime Minister, the speech from him was more of a statement of intent, record and vision ahead. So in that sense, I guess it connected with the common man and it connected with a lot of people across the board. When the Prime Minister puts out facts and figures and he does that laced with wit and humor, nobody has an answer to that. When he says 70 airports have come up in the last 9 years, whereas 70 had come up in the last 70 years, this is a matter of fact. When he talks of sanitation coverage, which has increased manifolds, or the rate at which roads are being constructed, that has quadrupled in the last decade, these are facts that are out there in the public domain. He's chosen to stay away from any sort of conspiracy theories or controversies and laid out a vision for India. If you ask me, Maria, the last 4-5 months of this Bharat Jodo Yatra and this PR blitzkrieg, the Prime Minister has undone that in 1.5 hours straight. By laying out what he's done and also talking about how he understands the India. He understands the brass tacks of this country, how this country works, where he comes from. So if you ask me, it was a masterclass in motion and it's going to reap rich dividends for BJP because it has set the narrative back.
But Rahul Gandhi says specific questions have not been answered, and that brings me to Aprajita Sarangi. Aprajita Sarangi, here was Rahul Gandhi and other leaders in opposition asking questions related to Hindenburg report and the entire controversy. The Prime Minister steered clear of it because he understands perhaps that that is not a domain that they want to enter into, because if you look at after those questions of Rahul Gandhi, the Congress was also saying that why is the government responding or the BJP is responding, which is clearly becoming that they were becoming the spokespersons of the Adani group. My question is, in not responding, have you left that entire space open?
Very good evening. Please allow me to start my talk with a few words in Hindi. जो कर्म करता है होकर मौन, तू बता दे उससे जीत सकता है कौन. Now here is a Prime Minister who works for the country day in and day out, and that's the reason why he talks with so much of confidence and conviction, because he is committed to the cause of the country. Now, as far as this particular incident is concerned, I would call it an incident. Rahul Gandhi getting up and talking to all of us. Now, he should remember, and my friends from the Congress and other opposition parties should remember, that motion of thanks on presidential address was going on in the Lok Sabha, right? And at that point of time, Rahul Gandhi, instead of taking out points from the president's speech and in fact raising questions on whatever the doubts in his mind pertaining to those points, he went for a different direction altogether, and that was absolutely ridiculous, I can say. Now here, I must say, with all conviction at my command, that he kept on speaking about a particular person and a particular organization, and today also the same thing kind of echoed in the Lok Sabha from the opposition benches. Now, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman has candidly talked about the whole thing 2 days back. She said SEBI is the regulator. SEBI is looking into the whole matter. A comprehensive report is being done by the SEBI, and LIC and SBI have gone into the open and given their own separate statements. Now there is a method of handling all these allegations, all these issues. Now I think today's Prime Minister's speech was a masterstroke in the sense that he silenced all the critics, and I think he has struck a chord again with 140 crore Indians. I think he gave a very
the Prime Minister has clearly refused to bite the bait. What will be the next game plan of the opposition? Because it appears that he will not be cornered on this issue.
Good evening to all. Please allow me to explain our side, including you. There are 4 speakers who have spoken before me, so I need some time. See, unfortunately, Prime Minister's speech in the Parliament today completely devoid of facts and soap opera, nothing else. Prime Minister said, under his leadership, India's economy is world 5th largest economy in the world, he said. Under Manmohan Singh ji government, it was 3rd largest economy. Not only it was 3rd largest economy, it took 27 crore people out of poverty. Narendra Modi's government brought it from 3 largest to 5th largest economy in the world and pushed 23 crore people into poverty. This is what precisely Prime Minister lying in the floor of the Parliament. Second, he said, it was strange and surprised, shock to me. He said there is no price rise in this country. Around the world there is price rise. There is no price rise in this country. Which world he is living? Earlier he used to fly in Adaniji's flight. Now he is flying his own flight. Only Rahul Gandhi ji walking from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, living with the common people. From rice, milk, dal, hospital expenses, education expenses, rice, nothing in this country is a lesser price now. Inflation is very high. Skyrocketing price rise actually paralyzed the life of the people. What is Prime Minister talking about? He says this corruption. See, you are not supposed to talk like you are still in opposition. You are the Prime Minister of the country. You have ruled this country 9 years now. So you under ED, CD, CBI, all agencies under your control. You are using whenever you want. D.K. Sivakumar says 50 days Congress government in Karnataka. Today ED will send a notice to him. Rahul Gandhi ji launching a Bharat Jodo Yatra. ED will send a notice to him. See, all opposition leaders are being threatened by ED, CD. Why don't you prove the charges after 9 years? You are saying shamelessly that too. This the Congress did this, Congress did this. Who will believe you? The pertinent question Rahul Gandhi ji raised in the floor of the Parliament was how one businessman, Mr. Gautam Adani, is a close friend of yours, become a 3rd or 2nd richest person in the world from 609 in 2014. What is the link between Gautam Adani and you? How many times Mr. Gautam Adani flying with you when you are going abroad, and how many times Mr. Gautam Adani has actually, Madam, please
how
wait.
issues that have been raised on these lines
give me 2 minutes.
has often boomeranged.
2 minutes.
Okay, please go ahead. But I'm just saying what happened in 2019 is also an example of Rafale.
To defend Narendra Modi.
No, I'm not defending anybody, but I'm just talking about
your desperation to defend Narendra Modi.
Facts and history.
Allow me 2
please
minutes.
Go ahead.
Let me complete. Allow me 2 minutes. Allow me 2 minutes. Allow me 2 minutes, let me complete. So how many times Adani ji get contract after you left this country? Is this a foreign policy of this government helping only one businessman? Why all the airports, forts, spectrum, oil, defense, everything is given to one man? This country is belong to one man. Don't you understand the danger of giving the entire country to one man? Tomorrow, then also there is a round tripping, there is a shell companies. We don't know who are all the foreign investors actually who invested in Adani ji's company. It might be Chinese, it might be Pakistanis. This is under the national security is under threat. So why you are supporting one man? What is the quid pro quo you and BJP is getting? There is no answer from Narendra Modi ji. Instead of answering and clearing the air, Narendra Modi ji went on, lied in the floor of the Parliament. As I said, nothing is consistent, nothing is a fact what Narendra Modi ji said. Okay. It's all lies, it's devoid of facts, nothing else. Okay. They are actually get scared, they are afraid, they are taken aback. That is why they couldn't answer the question straight. They are actually hiding, going, running roundabout.
Since you are saying that Prime Minister's statement was misleading the House, then is the Congress planning to bring in a privilege motion?
We will keep talking. We will bring a privilege motion. Why we will not bring a privilege motion? We will raise the issue. Even today, while Prime Minister was talking, we tried to counter him every point, because as you know how the Parliament is running, they will show only Prime Minister, only the opposition benches, only the treasury benches. Opposition voices or opposition questions will never show on the TV, not even our faces. So this is how Parliament is running. When Rahul Gandhi's speech, 18 cuts were in Rahul Gandhi's speech. Rahul Gandhi's all questions which I raised, just mentioned before, was expunged from the Parliament. Okay. So you can expunge anything from the Parliament, but the questions, the scam raised by the Rahul Gandhi is in the heart of the people.
If this is the response that is coming in from the Congress, which is not happy with what has played out in the House, it appears very clearly that, the opposition wanted its comments on the Adani controversy to be part of the parliamentary records, which they managed to do so. And when it comes to discussion in the House, now onwards, it may not happen.
Congress is suffering from persecution complex. Now, those who live in glass houses should not and cannot throw stones at others. In fact, Honorable Prime Minister talked about 2004 to 2014, and he termed it as the lost decade. And in fact, this particular decade was marked by various scandals, various scams, and in fact, I have a list of 11 scandals, 11 scams that took place during the Congress time. Now, if you give me some time, I can start with National Herald, I can move to Augusta Westland, I can go to the Bikaner Jameen Ghotala, I can talk about the Koila Ghotala, the Maruti Ghotala, the 2G Ghotala, and the Bofors Ghotala, and I have many more. We can also talk about those three people, Vijay Mallya, Nirav, and Mehul, who had been actually, committing all errors, all mistakes, all kinds of corruption during their time. And we were the people who got them back, and we actually seized the property. So I think our Prime Minister and his entire team, the government, we walked the talk. And we brought about the Fugitive Economic Offenders Ordinance. Please don't forget that. The Benami Len Den Nishedh Adhiniyam, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, and many more.
Okay.
So I think as far as my friend from the Congress is concerned, I would like to refresh her memory that in fact their governments in Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh have gone into agreements with this particular person and the organization they have been naming all through. So I think they should
Jyoti Mani, we have seen how personal attacks on Mr. Modi has only helped the BJP and Mr. Modi. If you look at the history, Soot Boot ki Sarkar, to Chai Wala, to Chokidar Chor Hai, nothing seems to have helped the Congress. Then the question is, how will this issue really play out? Because we saw what happened in 2019. You fought the elections on the issue of Rafale. The BJP won with a bigger mandate.
Maria, see, how a scam, how a helping an individual businessman, selling the country to an individual businessman, LIC, SBI, another public sector undertaking where normal poor people, middle class people invested, forcing them to invest in a friend company. How it will be a personal accusation to the Prime Minister? This assets not belong to the country. This asset belong to Prime Minister and Mr. Adani. Are they invested in this? Even before Narendra Modi became a Prime Minister, even before Narendra Modi became a Chief Minister, these are the assets built by the Congress government, utilizing the hard-earned money of these people. So why you are actually, when we discuss about the bigger issue of national security, we try to discuss the bigger issue of economy. So why you bring down to the narrow issue of Narendra Modi, Narendra Modi is this country, Adani is the country. That is the problem we are saying. This country is belong to people. This country is belonging to everyone. Because if everyone money, Narendra Modi and Adani is looting. That is the answer we are demanding. There is no answer from them.
Do you think the Prime Minister not, specifying anything on it was part of a strategy because he understood fully well that this is a direction that he did not want a speech which was purely on motion of thanks to go in that direction? Karan.
He knows that he is part of...
Maria, much of what the Congress MP just said, I am shocked. I mean, she just said that India was the third largest economy under Manmohan Singh. For crying out loud, it moved from 11th to 10th spot. Ma'am, please don't lie on television at least. Right now it is 5th largest, and this is in terms of nominal GDP. What you mentioned was purchase power parity. Absolute fact. I mean, you should apologize on television right now. From 11th spot, we came to 10th spot.
No, you have to issue an apology. Prime Minister has to issue an apology was misleading the House, not us.
We were called the president.
How many lies you can say, but fact is fact, truth is truth.
Please apologize. From 11th, we moved to the 10th spot under Dr. Manmohan Singh, and we were a part of the president's
You speak only lies. You speak brazen lies. You defending the scam. You don't have any shame to tell the lies, which you have to apologize to this country.
Another thing she said, now that she's caught lying, so she'll shout. Another thing she said about the shell companies. SEBI has investigated 70 entities or members, including the promoters of the Adani group, and has given them a clean sheet. So all these matters have already been investigated by the SEBI. The Prime Minister doesn't need to talk about one individual. We have regulators, we have appellate tribunals who have given orders.
The regulators were sleeping.
Those tribunals have also been challenged in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ratified and upheld the order of the appellate tribunal. So please get your facts right. Don't mislead the people. The people are far more intelligent now. They
Please,
speak with
you
the
get your
hypocrisy of
facts
lies.
right.
That
Please,
is why
BJP,
you are
get the
losing
facts
the
right.
election.
India is the third largest economy. I can challenge you. I can challenge you on this.
Oh my God.
I can challenge you on this. India was the third largest economy under Manmohan Singh. We indeed took 27 crore people out of poverty. You pushed them again into poverty, and by bringing India down to fifth largest economy.
You are talking about purchasing power parity. Please understand this. You're
Okay, let's listen in now from the JMM representative as well, Vijay Hansak. विजय जी, आपका क्या व्यू है? प्राइम मिनिस्टर का जो जवाब है, इससे बाकी ऑपोजिशन पार्टी इसके आप समझती हैं क्या अब हाउस चलेगा? क्योंकि जो सवाल हुआ था उसका जवाब नहीं है, लेकिन उन्होंने जो लार्जर इशू है, जो उन्होंने कहा कि 140 करोड़ जो जनता है, भारत के लोग हैं, उनका विश्वास उन पर अभी भी है.
देखिए, मैं इतना ही कहना चाहूंगा कि प्रधानमंत्री का राष्ट्रपति के अभिभाषण पे भाषण जैसा नहीं लग रहा था, बल्कि इलेक्शन के भाषण जैसा लग रहा था. और लगातार मैंने अपने स्पीच में भी जो राष्ट्रपति के अभिभाषण पे जो बातें आई थी, बिंदुवार मैंने बात उठाई. अभी जिस तरह से हमारी बीजेपी के स्पोक्स पर्सन द्वारा कहा गया कि लॉज बनाए गए हैं, सब कुछ किए गए हैं, इन सभी लॉज होने के बाद जितने भी आपके हाउसेज हैं, दे हैव बीन मिसयूज्ड ऑन एंड ऑन अगेन. जिस स्टेट्स में आपके जो है बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट नहीं है, इतनी मिसयूज ऑफ दिस, चाहे वो ईडी हो, इनकम टैक्स हो, अब सीबीआई हो. मैंने उसका उदाहरण मैंने सदन के अंदर में भी कहा कि एक विधायक के ऊपर जब वो अदानी के खिलाफ कुछ बोलने गए तो इनकम टैक्स का तुरंत रेड पड़ जाता है. और इतने देर से इतनी सारी बातें अगर किसी कंपनी के बारे में बोली जा रही है, उसके खिलाफ कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. तो ही स्टीयर्ड ऑफ क्लियरली, मतलब जो इश्यूज थे उन्होंने यही देखा कि भाई हार्ड पॉइंट्स पे हमें जाना नहीं है, मैं सॉफ्ट पॉइंट्स जो है उनको पकड़ते हुए आगे बढ़ता हूं. तो मैं यही कह सकता हूं कि एक तरह से पूरी तरह से इलेक्टोरल भाषण उनके तरफ से लगा है.
नहीं तो विजय जी, ये भी तो बोला जाएगा कि जो ऑपोजिशन का भाषण था वो भी इलेक्टोरल भाषण था. जो राहुल गांधी ने बोला, उन्होंने अपने पूरे भाषण में अडानी और भाजपा का लिंक्स बताने की कोशिश की. उसी तरह से प्राइम मिनिस्टर को लगता है कि जो उनका पिच है वो डेवलपमेंट का है, जो उन्होंने महिलाओं के लिए किया है, जो उन्होंने मिडिल क्लास के लिए किया है, तो वो उसकी बात कर रहे थे. आपने जो भाषण दिया वो भी पॉलिटिकल, इनका भी भाषण पॉलिटिकल.
नॉट पॉलिटिकल. जो चीजें प्रेसिडेंट्स के स्पीच में नोटेड थे, मैंने उन्हीं पॉइंट से निकाल करके मैंने बहुत सारी बातें रखी हैं. और साथ ही साथ अगर उस चीज पे हम जाते हैं कि अगर आप अदानी इश्यू का बात कर रहे हैं, हमारे यहाँ झारखंड में एक टाइम में जो है, झारखंड नहीं पूरे इंडिया में आपका एक टाइम में जो है सारे कोल ब्लॉक्स को जो है आपका बंद करने के बाद हमारे यही झारखंड में वहां पे जिंदल से लेकर के आपका अदानी को दिया गया. तो अगर उस कहानी पे आगे बढ़ेंगे तो बहुत सारी कहानी है. लेकिन है कि क्या है कि आज के डेट में ये बात समझनी होगी कि आज LIC और SBI का इतना बड़ा अमाउंट अगर वहां इन्वेस्टेड है, इससे पहले जो लोग बाहर निकल गए इस देश से, उनके पास उनको वापस लाया नहीं जा पाया है. और अगर अभी कुछ ऐसा होता है तो कहीं ना कहीं डायरेक्ट इंडियन इकोनॉमी रिस्क पे है. लेकिन उसके बाद भी आप और आपका पूरा महकमा अगर किसी को डिफेंड कर रहा है, तो दैट इज गोइंग अगेंस्ट द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द इंडियन पीपल.
बट हु इज डिफेंडिंग हिम?
लेकिन वो चीज उन्हें दिख नहीं रही.
ओके, यू नो, ओके, देन अपराजिता, दिस पॉइंट, हु इज डिफेंडिंग हिम? कौन डिफेंड कर रहा है उनको?
आप उसे इशू बना ही नहीं रहे हैं, क्योंकि आपको लगता है कि भाई, इसलिए मैंने कहा ना, यू आर स्टीयरिंग राइट ऑफ द इशू, कि उसको आप इशू बनाना ही नहीं चाहते हैं, ये इशू उसको सामने लाना ही नहीं चाहते हैं, क्योंकि उससे दिक्कत आप ही को होगी.
अच्छा, सो आपका ये पॉइंट है. ओके, अपराजिता सारंगी, द पॉइंट बीइंग मेड हियर, यस, इज that you are trying to steer clear only because you know that's an important issue, but you would rather not address it.
See, I reiterate, we were discussing the motion of thanks on presidential address. and many points had been raised. Now it was a kind of report card, and today Honorable Prime Minister Modi, I'm very proud to say that he kind of gave a report card of his government in all these 9 years to the people of the country. So I think when he walks the talk and he says what he does, I think we should believe the Prime Minister. Now here is a Prime Minister who is always attacked by the opposition because they feel threatened, they are insecure. And it has become a fashion with all these opposition parties to kind of put a question mark on the policy and intention of the Prime Minister. And I must tell Vijay Sahab that our Prime Minister's way of working is just, focused on people.
Okay.
And it is Lok Niti and Lok Sabha, nothing else. And in fact, he mentioned about his Parivrajak days. So he's entirely committed to the cause of the country. When he talks of 9 crore free gas cylinders and 11 crore toilets and 80 crore people having been fed for 44 months and 8 crore families getting piped water supply, I think here is a Prime Minister who knows what he does and who has complete grip over the departments and the ministries and the work. So it's a wonderful governance model we should be proud of, and that is why today we are the 5th largest economy.
Okay, tell me,
and despite
Smita
all
Prakash,
problems,
Smita Prakash,
we are the fastest growing economy. So
as political journalists, how these personal attacks have boomeranged, and particularly any charge of corruption or alleged corruption has boomeranged. Then how do you see the Parliament session going onwards from here on? And the question is, if the RBI has responded, the SBI has responded, the LIC has responded, the finance minister has spoken, and still, if the Parliament, if the MPs in opposition are continuing to raise the Adani question, then what is the government's way out of it?
Look, they don't necessarily boomerang. We have seen in the past that, Bofor's allegation stuck, even though nobody went to jail because of Bofors. But Rahul Gandhi tried it with the Rafale, made it into an election issue. It did not resonate with the people of the country. They did not think that Mr. Modi had anything to do with corruption. That did not. So now, because it worked on his dad, so I think Rahul Gandhi thinks that it could work on Mr. Modi all over again. So in the earlier election, it was Anil Ambani, Anil Ambani, Anil Ambani. In this election, it's Adani, Adani, Adani. So let's see whether that sticks or not. He says from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, he could hear people talking about Adani. But frankly, whatever I've heard, I have not heard common people talking so much about Adani, but that's probably because the people that I deal with or whatever don't invest in stocks and shares that much. But anyway, 2 points that I wanted to make listening to the earlier speakers. The JMM spokesperson interestingly said that this sounded like an election speech. Now, this is something which is constantly said about Mr. Modi because Mr. Modi is a political prime minister. For 10 years, Indians were used to a non-political prime minister, and I think from that mindset, Indians have still not got figured out that Modi is a political prime minister. He will make every speech into speaking to the people of the country, whether he is speaking from an election podium or whether he is speaking from a parliament. The second thing which I wanted to point out is what Aparajita ji said, that, Prime Minister, I don't know exact quote, she said, कर्म करते हैं और मौन रहते हैं. The thing is that I don't think that मिस्टर मोदी मौन रहते हैं या बीजेपी मौन रहती है, क्योंकि मेरे हिसाब से प्रधानमंत्री जी शायद इतने इंटरव्यूज नहीं लेते, लेकिन मन की बात हो या जहां पे भी हो वो मौन तो नहीं रहते, कर्म करते हैं, एंड इंक्लूडिंग द बीजेपी. I mean, it's like everything gaje baje ke saath, whether it is an airport, whether it is a port or anything, and rightfully so, because what is politics all about? You make something and you tell the people, I have done this, so that not only is that airport or that water or that waterfront visible to the people and they get the benefit, they also know who did it, so that they can reward or punish whoever has done and not done it.
Okay. Before I give the final word to Aprajita Sarangi, I'll go back to Vijay Hansak and Jyoti Mani. Jyoti Mani, the Prime Minister in his speech talks about personal trust factor. He has listed the achievements of his government. One may say that he is trying to present a positive side of India's story, and he has also said that opposition, particularly the Congress, बस negative बातें करती है. तो वो negative versus positive को कैसे react करेगी Congress? How will you go ahead with it?
Actually, is negativity actually who spread negativity against the 10-year golden era of Manmohan Singh government. This is the same, the same Mr. Narendra Modi has spread the negativity. Hello, sir. Don't think you have all the wisdom in the world.
Okay, Karan, let us speak.
Synonymous with
Karan,
corruption.
let us speak.
Can you please,
Yes.
can you
Yes,
please
go ahead,
maintain a dignified silence for what I am speaking?
Go ahead.
Please.
Go ahead, ma'am. Yes.
So even the sanitary napkin scheme, it was launched by UPA, by then Health Minister in 2009. Now he claims the credit. Once Congress President famously said, Mallikarjuna Kharge in one of his speech, all the railways he listed out, trains for the pilgrimage places, Narendra Modi which took the claim. This all the claims which tall claims Mr. Narendra Modi has made today is actually false and devoid of facts. We will explain to these people. Second thing, whatever the question still, whether the BJP MPs, BJP spokesperson from Prime Ministers to last cadre of the BJP never answered the Adani question. Madam has said earlier that Prime Minister never answered the question. She says as if it's a credit to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister can't meet the press. Prime Minister can't answer the opposition question. Why Prime Minister don't come to Parliament? Once in a year, every week, there is a day where Prime Minister come to Parliament, both the houses for 1 hour. You can never see a Prime Minister every week on the particular day Prime Minister come and sit in the Parliament 1 hour because he has a scant respect for the Parliament. Because people ask questions.
That is little unfair. That is unfair. As a journalist who covers the Parliament, we have seen Prime Minister being present every day.
See how many, every day, every week, Wednesday, in 1 hour, Prime Minister should be in the Parliament. Tell me, you prove, I will challenge you, you prove how many Wednesday, every Wednesday, how many days Prime Minister has come and sat in the Parliament.
Now it is question about the Prime Minister's attendance. That is what Congress party is saying. Aprajita.
Yes. See, I would just request my friends from the Congress to refrain from levying false allegations, baseless charges against the Prime Minister.
Not false
In fact, they would not stand because 140 crore Indians love our Prime Minister, and I think they understand his language. And as far as Smita Prakash Ji's statement is concerned, by Mon I meant we do not want to respond, and we do not respond to the false allegations of the opposition parties. We focus on our work.
Okay, Vijay,
we work and we do speak about our work. In fact, the Prime Minister gives his report card to the people, and he must talk to the people.
You know, when you make that point that it was an election speech, it's very clear that the Prime Minister himself was telling the political opponents that yes, his biggest strength is the people of the country, and his biggest strength is that his policies are endorsed by people through electoral victories, and that is the reason why they win states, they have won India twice. So the question then is the opposition then going to make this a talking point? Is this really an agenda going ahead in 2024? Or will you be just letting it being driven by the Congress party? Other parties in opposition will be looking at more specific issues.
Shall I speak up?
Yes, Vijayji, go ahead.
देखिए, मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि जब पहली बार प्रधानमंत्री हमारे नरेंद्र मोदी जी बने इस देश के, तो एज ए इंडियन क्या होता है कि कभी भी चेंज होता है तो वी होप फॉर द बेटर. आप लोगों ने जैसे शुरुआत में ही कहा, बहुत सारी बातें की, इंडियंस आर वेरी पॉजिटिव. तो जो शुरुआत हुई तो हमें भी लगा कि भाई एक नया व्यक्ति आए हैं इस देश के लिए, कुछ नया करेंगे और करेंगे. तो हर कोई सरकार आती है, कुछ ना कुछ अच्छे कदम आगे बढ़ाती है, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ जो वही पुरानी बातें, रटे रटाई बातें जो लगातार सुनते सुनते जो है हम भी कहीं ना कहीं अब उब चुके हैं. और ये मत समझिए कि सिर्फ मैं उबा हूं, हमारे 140 करोड़ जनता भी उबे हैं. और ये नहीं कहा जा सकता कि आप जो कर रहे हैं वो लोग तक, आप जैसे बोल रहे हैं कि ये 140 करोड़ जनता समझ रहे हैं, तो मैं भी वही बात बोलना चाहता हूं कि 140 करोड़ जनता समझ रहे हैं. थोड़ी देरी से ही समझ आ रही है.
140 करोड़ जनता तो फिर 2024 में वोट करेगी, उसका इंतजार कर ले क्या?
एग्जैक्टली, इंतजार तो सबको करना पड़ेगा, लेकिन उसके साथ ही साथ क्या है कि जो वैलिड पॉइंट्स, अगर पार्लियामेंट एक जगह है जहां पर कि पक्ष और विपक्ष अपने वैलिड पॉइंट्स को रखते हैं, सरकार आप 9 साल से चला रहे हैं। अब आप जो है नेहरू और उससे पहले जो रेजिम में रहे और 10 साल मनमोहन सिंह जी रहे, ये सब बातें आप लगातार जो करते हो तो उसका कोई मायने नहीं है। अब आप 9 साल और अब 10वें साल में आप जल्दी ही घुसने वाले हैं, तो 10 साल के इस कार्यकाल के बाद भी आप जो है 70 साल जो अगर वहां अच्छे कार्य हुए उनको भी हम गिनाते अगर चले जाएंगे, आज जिस तरह से आपको मजबूर होना पड़ रहा है कि जो सारी संस्थाएं हैं उनको आप लगातार बेच रहे हैं, कहीं ना कहीं पब्लिक सेक्टर एंड प्राइवेट सेक्टर कंपीट करने चाहिए। यहां पे ये स्थिति हो रही है कि आप पब्लिक सेक्टर को कंप्लीटली ध्वस्त करते चले जा रहे हैं और सारे चीजों को प्राइवेट सेक्टर के हाथों में दिए चले जा रहे हैं।
Okay, I have just enough time for Karan Verma. Karan, you heard from all the sides. पक्ष और विपक्ष ने सबने अपने पार्ट्स रख दिए हैं इस डिबेट पर भी और पार्लियामेंट के अंदर भी। सवाल ये उठता है कि पार्लियामेंट चलेगा या फिर जेपीसी डिमांड विल बी डोमिनेटिंग दिस रिमेनिंग पार्ट ऑफ द बजट सेशन एंड ऑफ कोर्स द ट्रंकेटेड पार्ट व्हिच बिगिंस लेटर.
You know, Maria, the Congress continues to do business with Adani in Rajasthan, in Chhattisgarh. The hypocrisy, and here they demand a JPC on the same entity. So, I mean, this kind of hypocrisy people are able to see through. And the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha spokesperson, he just said that you should not talk about the past. Of course, we should be talking about the past. We should know where we've come, how far we've traveled. We need to have a context. We need to have a reference point for that. So I think it was a very positive speech, and the opposition, it's high time they stepped up and came up with a positive agenda rather than just obstructing and making frivolous demands. At one end you are doing business and the other end you are trying to obstruct parliament.
All right, let's see how it plays out. Thank you so much for your time, Smita Prakash. Always a pleasure to have you on my shows. Karan Verma, Jyotimani Aprajita and Vijay Hansakji. We are slipping into a short break. Up next, latest ground reports from Turkey in the wake of the deadly earthquake. The death toll continues to rise amidst search and rescue operations.